But you guys are really interested in the Korean postnatal maternity care center, which I told you guys about. So this is called Joriwon, and as far as I know, Korea is one of the only countries in the world that actually has this. There are some other Asian countries and I think some European countries that may have it, but every country has a totally different way of treating the postpartum period. And in Korea, it's a very general thing that everybody goes to this maternity care center after giving birth. And it's usually for about 2 weeks. Some do 1 week, some do 3-4 weeks, but the average is 2 weeks. The average cost of it is about $2,000 to $3,000 for 2 weeks, for 1 week. There are low-end, high-end ones as well. There are ones for celebrities. It can go up to like even $20,000. So I had only heard of it culturally. My mom, as I grew up, she kind of told us that because she was in Australia, she had no one to take care of her postpartum and she didn't get to go to a Joriwon and things like that. So I had only heard of it growing up in that way. When I was pregnant, I was asking some Koreans that I know what they think and how their experience was and if I should go or not. And a lot of the Korean people told me that I need to go. Obviously, I had no idea about postpartum period and what it would be like. I only just kind of had a vague idea that it would be crazy, right? You hear about it being crazy. You don't get time to sleep. You don't get time to shower, which is all true. But that's all I knew about it. I didn't know whether I need it or not. And I got convinced to go because people would tell me that, someone told me that she booked for 1 week, but it was like heaven. And she wished that she could extend it 1 or 2 weeks, but it was too late to do that. So she recommended me to book one for 2 weeks. And I had a couple of friends tell me that they never wanted to leave as well. So I was like, oh, okay, so there must be something. Maybe I'll be in really bad condition that I really need that help in order to be a good mom. And it is true, you have to be in a really good condition to enable you to be the best that you can to your baby, right? So that's the thought that I had going into Joriwon. So my doula, I told you guys about her in my birth story video too. She's actually Korean, but she has a very non-Korean kind of mindset. She's more of like a naturalist kind of. Obviously, she's a doula. She tries to help women to do it all naturally. So she was telling me that the baby actually does a lot better with the mom alone at home, and it's actually better to just hire external people to come in like one at a time, whether it's the postnatal masseuse, someone else to come and help you cook, 산후도우미 in Korea. So we were really considering that. It's a bit complicated, but eventually we got convinced to go. But also for me, because my parents are overseas and I had no family and relatives to help, William and I, as first-time parents, we were thinking, how are we going to do this? I forgot exactly what happened, but in the end we decided to try it. And so we very last minute looked around. It was William's idea to give me like the best. And I'm very grateful for his very warm heart. In a way, he wanted to gift it to me by booking a very high-end Joriwon, which was close to our hospital actually. I don't know if I should name it because I'm not gonna give a good review about it. But if you guys are curious, I'll maybe share it with you guys on Instagram, on my stories or something. I don't wanna like give out the name like that. But yeah, so it was Oppa's little gift to me. He organized everything. He booked for me the penthouse of this high-end Joriwon that was in like Gangnam area. If you're curious, I know that you guys will be curious. That's the only reason why I'm sharing it with you guys, but it cost $12,000 to $15,000 for 2 weeks. $12,000 to $15,000. But we got a discount as well because of the corona situation or something like that. So this room was like massive. I think I did kind of vlog it, so if I have the footage I'll put it in, if not I'm sorry. But really big, like amazing, really nice hotel room with even like that green wall with the plants on the wall to purify the air or something. The room itself had a bubbling sitz bath. Because it was a penthouse, you would have 3 attendants or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it was a really big room where even your husband can come and stay with you. The food was amazing, like really balanced food by like top chefs. You'll have the gathering of mums at certain hours of the day. Really well-renowned doctor would come and analyze how you're doing and how your baby's doing, give you advice, and then have tailored Chinese herbal medicine for you, which is like a really big thing in Korea to help mothers to recover.
So, hi everybody. We finally welcomed Leo into this world, and Jen and I just came out of the hospital with Leo, and now we're in postpartum care facility, and this was my little gift to Jan and Leo, and this is the place that we're going to be spending for the next 2 weeks. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a room tour. Was the kitchen, obviously, a fridge, what do you call it, the milk storage, coffee machine, and things like that. And apparently this cleanses the air. The South Korean air quality is really bad, so I think this will be quite helpful. And we can actually cook and eat our own food. That's baby bathtub, and this is our bath area, I think. Yeah, I actually haven't seen it. I'm just giving you a tour as I'm looking through. And this is a toilet for Jan's bum, and for me and Jan, and this is the shower. Entering into the lounge area, I think there's a bit of a desk, a recliner couch. We can actually watch a movie there. That's Leo's bed, and this is the master bedroom. So this is the master bedroom. It's a motion bed, so when Jen is feeling uncomfortable, she can easily maneuver up and down with this remote. And this is my bed, I think, and there's a styler, so we can just put our old clothes in there and we can shake all the dust off. And this is our TV. So yeah, so that's it. So this is a place where we're going to be spending the next 2 weeks, and I hope this place will be our home, and Jen will be able to recover quickly. Yeah, I'll be commuting back and forth, but I'll be spending the weekend together with the family. Okay, thank you so much, guys, and that's it from me.
Leo?
So that was what was booked. We went there, and this is me on no sleep because I don't know why I couldn't sleep during my time at the hospital. I was either running on adrenaline or I was excited or something. I don't remember why. So I basically had no sleep, and we turned up at the maternity care center. I was so excited to finally hold my baby and get time with him, to work on my breastfeeding and get some rest. I thought that's what I was going to get at the maternity care center. Little did I know what I was going to get myself into. So as soon as we arrived, people barged into our room. They asked if he's been fed, and we were not sure. The hospital didn't tell us any information. So they got out a bottle and like in front of us immediately started to feed our baby. And I said, actually, I really wanted to try doing breastfeeding because it had been such a big thing for me. That was the main thing that I actually brought up with this maternity care center when we were booking it. I was like, do you do breastfeeding support? And they said, yes, for sure. And do you do 모자동실? Which is, do you have the baby stay with the mother in the room constantly? There were some maternity care centers that don't do that and some that do. But I wanted to do 모자동실. But from the very beginning, the vibe was totally not for it. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was a bit too much work for them or something, but they were really like advocating for me to just rest. Like, how are you gonna rest if your baby's staying with you? We need to take him. So I asked and I said I'd like to do breastfeeding actually, and the ladies, they basically looked at me and said, it doesn't look like you have any milk. And she said, if you don't feed your baby, he's gonna starve. What was said was fine, it kind of logically makes sense, but it was said to me in a way that was like really degrading and arguing with me in a way, and kind of like laughing at me because perhaps they thought I was being unrealistic or pushy or something. But that's not what I was doing at all. I literally was just saying I'd like to get the breastfeeding support. Like, I wanted to start straight away, you know. I thought that someone would be there to do the journey with me. So I kind of said that again, and so they put the bottle down. They were already kind of a little bit upset. They were like, okay, let's see if it works. Like, that kind of attitude. I'm sorry. It was literally that kind of attitude. Yeah, let's see if you can do it, okay? This is what you want. Let's try then. Let's see if you have any milk. So we sat down, and they were kind of trying to just like watch me, and I didn't know what to do. For any moms out there, you'll know that breastfeeding is a journey. You have to work it out with your baby, and it takes a lot of time. You have to kind of figure it out. I was trying, and Leo was having trouble, and the woman was sitting there hurrying me out because I felt like she needed to go and do something else. And she was saying, see, it's not happening, like it's not gonna happen. I was just like kind of like hurt and shocked because I thought that I was gonna get supported, but I was already kind of being told off for wanting to try breastfeeding my baby. I had brought my little pre-expressed colostrum, which if you guys followed me on my Insta stories, I was like super excited during my pregnancy to get a little bit of this colostrum because I had heard from many people and my friends that this is like magic. It's a miracle formula for the baby. If you pre-express it, you can give it to them later, even down the track if they're ever sick. So I had done so many hours of work, tears to get them out, freeze them, write all the dates on them, and I was ready to feed them to Leo. Anyway, so the breastfeeding thing was like the first moment. We kind of started off on a kind of awkward note because of that, and for some reason they were already upset at me, and I already felt like discouraged and stuff because she was looking at my boobs and saying that it looks like I have no milk, but I had no time to even try feeding him until then because I had been separated from him at the hospital. So the more that the baby latches, your body knows that's when to start with the milk production. So I knew that I was already 2 or 3 days behind. As they were leaving the room, we gave them the little colostrum that I had pre-expressed, and we asked them if they could feed him that, and we trusted that they would. They took it very hesitantly because they'd never seen it before. I think they were kind of bothered by it, that they had to bother to do that. And I kind of had this feeling that they might not feed it to him. So to this day, I'm not sure if they actually gave it or not. The attitude that I got was like it's an inconvenience. And so deep down, I really regret giving it to them. I wish that I had kept it and like fed it to him alone myself. I had too much trust in everything. Anyway, so that was my first moment at Joriwon, and from there on, it was booked for 2 weeks, but I stayed there for 2 days and I left. It was a beautiful room, but that kind of escalated because every like 30 minutes to an hour, someone else barged into my room. Like they would just press the number lock and open the door without even knocking and just come in while I'm like sitting on the 6th bath or something. I'm like, oh god, it's like someone coming in. And I would have new people come in every time. So every time someone else came in, what I had previously discussed and like requested, and like I thought I'd built up a connection with the previous person, I would have to do it all over again, or like they would come in with a completely different understanding of what I want. Not even different, like not knowing anything about me, and like start off on a different page constantly. And I was so tired and exhausted from giving birth, from the hospital experience, my body hurting, the blood coming out, my postpartum blues, so I was like crying over everything. And I just wanted to rest, but I would have people come in, and then there was that added stress of like having that feeling that in that whole department, they had all just decided that I was a difficult person because I wanted to breastfeed my baby. And so I was always kind of met with a different attitude. I just felt like I was not being supported, and I was more becoming like an inconvenience to them. This led me to worry about how well they were treating Leo, because towards the first end of the day, there was even like aggression that I could feel with how they would talk to me and treat me. And so I thought, if these ladies who are obviously just workers, they're doing their best, but maybe they're also under stress. Maybe they've met up with a lot of mums who are really unreasonable and treating them like trash or something, because in Korea, there's a huge like rich and poor kind of chasm, and although I'm not conscious of this in Korea, it is a thing. So maybe they're being treated badly by like rich mums who come in or something like that, and they're used to that, and so they already think of me as an enemy, even though that's not what I meant at all, if you know what I mean. So like things like misunderstandings, miscommunications, I think cultural misunderstandings too built up, and I felt like they hated me. Just to be really honest, I felt like they hated me, and I knew that they might not treat my baby well. Maybe they would actually abuse him. I don't know if it was mother paranoia or if it was actual reality, but I had that worry, and William also did too. That was one aspect, and I was ready to work through that. I was ready to pray through that and like storm through it. But I think one of the deciding factors of me leaving was I couldn't really sleep or rest at all. Not only because I had so many intruders coming in all the time, but also because I was separated from Leo. I was constantly thinking about him as a mom. I'd just given birth to him. And they give you a little app and like a password to be able to constantly see your baby who's like lying in a little box in the nursery room. And I couldn't sleep at nighttime, but like I just kept looking at him and wondering how he's feeling. I wonder what he's thinking, like mom's not there, dad's not there, he's alone, and all these like random people just keep picking him up and shoving bottles into him and forcing him to feed. That was one thing also that I saw that like, I'm not sure if it's a cultural difference or something, but when they were feeding Leo, they were teaching me how to feed him, and as a like passing note, I don't think they meant to do it, but they showed me that if they're not feeding, this is what they do in order to do it quickly. And they basically like took one hand behind the head and one hand on the chin, even though if the baby didn't feel like it, you know, they pressed their lips together and they weren't open, but they have to feed them, right? So they push down on the chin and then shove the bottle in. And even if the baby is not feeding, they force them by they're using their hands to put the chin down and up, so that it forces the suction in and they're swallowing without any option. Guys, I hope I'm not being like one of those like picky, crazy, insane. No, I don't think I am. I am not, okay? I am not. But I think that's wrong. So seeing that and just the general attitude of treating babies like they're a machine and everything is just one thing across the board, that did not hit a note with me. It also was not comfortable for me that our babies were lying in boxes without the mother's touch and like just away from the mom, especially as someone who wanted to breastfeed. I remember just like one night I was looking at the app at 3 a.m. and I saw Leo and he was like looking up like this and he looked really sad and lost, and I could like almost hear my baby saying, "Where are you, mom?" And I was like, I just wept and cried. And then the next morning William had to go off to work. I was just like trying to go through the day, get some solace. People kept barging in. The doctor came in and they were like diagnosing me so that they can write down what to do for the oriental medicine. But there was no care that I felt from them. And I really didn't think that they really understood me, my body type, or really like sat down to really figure out what I really need. The massage was amazing though. So that was one thing that was really good about the place. Postnatal massages are a whole new thing altogether. You can definitely hire someone else to just come to your home, and that's actually what I ended up doing. I don't exactly remember what it was, but there was a last straw. But I just had this moment and I called Oppa and I said, "Oppa, I want to just go home." One other thing that I forgot to mention was the manager of the nursery eventually came like on the second day, and she said, "I heard that things got off on a bit of a rough note. I'm sorry that I sent someone lower to attend to you. I was away for that day, but I should have been there to make sure that everything was smooth." So I felt like really happy with that. I was like, yeah, I'd like to get things like rolling smoothly again, and this is what I'd like, and please like let everyone know that that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to do breastfeeding and have more time with my baby and stuff. But I totally was like, that's okay, like, yeah, thank you for coming, and you know, you don't have to be sorry. And I was like ready to make this work. But then straight away I had new women coming in and force feeding and just being like kind of really brash, rude, rough. And I had to constantly explain all over again to them every hour, like as someone else came in. So nothing changed after that, but I just got that formal apology. I don't even know why I got the apology. It's not, oh, actually William did kind of call and complain to the manager like the second day or something. He was like, this is really not really what we expected, and we'd like them to kind of listen to us more. So he kind of did call them, so maybe that's why, but it wasn't from me. I didn't directly like confront them or anything, but I think that's what they thought. So they were actually more aggressive after that, and I think they thought that I was like one of those Gangnam ommas or something. So I had this like weird period of stress. I was so stressed and I just needed to rest, and I was lying down in bed to rest just like for 5 minutes, and then someone would barge in and I'll have to get up and constantly like attend to them, and it was so stressful. So anyway, to sum things up, I told Oppa, I called him, he was at work. I was like, "Oppa, I think I just want to go home." And he was like stressed as well. He didn't know what to do. He was like, "Are you sure?" Okay. And then yeah, he felt peace about it too. He told me later, "Actually, as soon as you told me that, I felt so peaceful, and I think we'll do really good. I think we can do this on our own, Jen. Let's take Leo home." So he came home early from work, third day. I slept there 2 nights, and then we just packed everything up and we left the place. Before we left the place, I think the word had kind of spread because he just called the manager to let her know, and all the ajummas had heard about it. One of the massage ladies, who was like a 할머니, she was the only really nice person that had been there that was like encouraging and nice to me, and I felt so like supported by that little ounce of kindness from her. She came up to me like in a rush and she was like, "Are you okay? Like, I heard that you're leaving. If you need help, this is my number." And that was so nice of her. I had told her that I had no relatives and family to help me, and she was the one that was massaging to get the milk flowing, and she was giving me advice on how to get my milk supply, which was to start pumping. So yeah, that happened, which ended up being a godsend because later I called her and she did help me. I think it was God that sent her, because as soon as she massaged, everything got like released and all the pain went away and my supply went up. So that was like a week after I left the place. We packed up, we came home, and we decided to do it all on our own. And because William had not planned for this to happen, Oppa had 2 to 4 weeks of paternity leave, and that was meant to be 2 weeks after I gave birth, right? But because we came home early, I had nobody because he had to go to work. And so literally I just went about it on my own. And I was still in pain and still recovering and still using my donut cushion, still trying to figure out this breastfeeding thing. But basically we came home, we got my doula's contact, and we asked her for her team's help. So we had one person come over. She came over for 30 minutes and gave me a little bit of training on how to use the nipple cover, just like some tips here and there. And that really helped a lot, massively, to jumpstart my continued attempts with Leo. What else? My relative gave me a contact to this 산후도우미, which is the assistants who come to your house and help you cook and can also help take care of the baby too. And so we contacted one, and we got one grandma who came, and she came for a week. She was supposed to be with me for a long time, but also I had a similar experience and similar kind of a vibe and attitude from her that I received from the ladies at the Joriwon, which was like, I don't know what it is, guys, but it was very arguing. It was also telling me off about things. It was not like a nice, caring, supportive kind of assistant, but she would also barge in on me all the time and even tell me off about things. And like, I really welcome help and constructive criticism and feedback, but what I got was not that. It was literally kind of like, how do I explain? You know, like in those movies, in those Korean dramas, you see like evil mother-in-law kind of thing. Like, that was the kind of atmosphere and vibe and attitude and treatment that I got, and that's not what I wanted. I was paying money for a service, right? So I expected a certain amount of help. I think I expected a little bit of respect, a kind of like Western attitude of service, which is you give each other space, you discuss with what to do, and you work on it together, and you respect each other. And that's not really what I got. In fact, I would get like the complete opposite in a very defiant manner. So anyway, so what happened with the grandma Tomi, we actually hired her to only take care of the cooking side so that I could have meals ready for me. But she kept insisting on helping with the baby as well. So she would continue to, I would like be in my room, and I think this is my Western mindset too, like privacy is a really big thing, and you knock before you come in if you come in at all or disturb at all. I made it very clear that I'll totally just be doing baby, and I just need you to take care of cleaning the house and preparing the food. But no matter how much I said that, she would keep coming in while I'm in the middle of like peeing or something, or like even feeding Leo with my boob out. She would just stand there and like watch me and kind of like tell me off, that's not what to do, or like that's not right. So I got stressed with that, and eventually, because I didn't really allow her to help, I think she did get a little bit upset. It wasn't what I needed. I just needed a stress-free kind of zone to really focus on my baby and recovery. But it was like adding stress on top of that. So we only did that for a week, and Oppa decided to be the cook for us at the home. And that was like the best decision that I made, to cut off the time at Joriwon. It just wasn't for me. Afterwards, I found out what it is, the Korean kind of culture and mentality. What it is essentially, because mother has gone through 9 months of exhaustion, physical labor and everything, they've just gone through giving birth, you're entitled to getting your own pamper experience. And it's nothing to do with the baby, it's all to do with you, to give you your rest and give you a little bit of a spoiling. But I think if you are a mother who doesn't want to have that, but you want to prioritize the well-being of your baby, you might actually get so stressed like me and worried for your baby that you don't get to even enjoy the pampering. So I think for those who are okay with leaving their baby with someone else and being able to completely just like separate your thoughts from your baby and just enjoy your own recovery, your own attention and care, then Joriwon is a really good place for you. And that's probably why a lot of Koreans do enjoy the experience. And maybe some Joriwon don't do this. It was just the one that I went to. So please do not generalize all Korean maternity care centers to be like this. Obviously something's working for the whole Korean populace to be enjoying it, and also other people from around the world coming to enjoy Joriwon experience. But yeah, I really don't know. I'm pretty sure I'll get a lot of comments saying that's not what all Joriwons are like, so I'm not saying that everything is like this. But for me, and if that experience is something that is kind of a general thing, then I would just recommend, if you're someone who wants your baby to be well, and if you're a mother who's prioritizing your bond with your baby in your breastfeeding journey, then Joriwon will probably not be the right place for you. The best thing would be to have your mother come, or someone who is a trusted family member. After this experience, I really became grateful for family, because I do think that there is no one like family to take care of your baby, to be able to trust. And even then, you know, some people don't get along well with their moms or their family members. But yeah, I do think that at the end of the day, you just got to grit your teeth and get through the time and do the best that you can and figure out what's best for you and your family. So that is the Joriwon experience, and also the 가사도우미. I have many friends who have a lot of good 도우미 experiences. Maybe it was just my 도우미 that was like that as well. But as a generalization, I'm not judging or anything. It's kind of my logical, analytical brain going on here. But I do think that if there is a pattern of assistance for new mothers in Korea that have a bit of an attitude, it is probably because of the socioeconomic chasm. Because in Australia, I really grew up without being aware of socioeconomic chasms or divides. Everyone's kind of just treated equal no matter what, whether you're like a higher ranking person or low ranking person. If you're a boss or an employee, everyone is entitled to the same rights, and you call each other by name for human rights, you know. But coming to Korea, I really realized, even sometimes hiring like people to clean our house, if you're born into like a lower class job, maybe in the past, in previous times, I don't think that younger generation Koreans are like this, but because the older Koreans grew up in wartime, I do think that there was a huge divide between the rich and the poor. And because of that, the lower socioeconomic people who have had to take on jobs like taxi driving or cleaning people's houses or assistance to mothers, they have always kind of been really mistreated or looked down upon. And because of that, I think there might be a little bit of an issue that arises from that make me just ultimately not able to trust. Because of the kind of possible tensions that may have arisen from that, there may be a tendency to have a foundation of distrust towards the people that they're serving, kind of like maybe Korea was once a sort of third world country. It might have been like a master and slave kind of culture. And so if someone is obviously not treated like a human, as a slave that's mistreated, they will do things that are not trustworthy. And I've had many actually experiences in Korea of my cleaners actually stealing things. No matter how many times we let it pass, we just like realize that things are stolen, no matter how like well we treat them. Almost like a condition that you can't really help, and you can't like bridge the gap. So it's just like a reality that I realized and accepted. Even the grandma who helped, I eventually did actually give her my baby to take care of for a moment, because I felt like that was so important to her for her self-worth. So I was like, okay, God, I'll just trust her and I'll just like leave it. And I was fighting all of my like motherly thoughts and concerns and everything, and just like lying down on my bed for like the first time ever. And she was just changing in Leo's nappy, and as soon as she came out, I don't know if you guys know, but a little bit of the placenta cord is still on the belly button of the baby for up to a few weeks, and it drops off naturally on its own to create the belly button. And it has to come off at the right time naturally by itself, kind of just like a wound, like a scab coming off, that it doesn't get infected, etc. And this was like a few days after the hospital. I knew that my baby's placenta cord was stuck on quite strong. Every time I kind of like touched it, it would not fall off. But I had noticed that she was feeding the baby the wrong way with the bottle this way so that the air was going through. And also, as soon as she came out of changing the nappy, she told me that his belly button fell off the placenta cord. And even though I asked her what happened, she wouldn't tell me. She said, oh, it just fell off. But I knew that it must have tugged off accidentally as she was kind of rough with changing the nappy, because she was quite she was a grandma. I think she was like way into her years, but still kind of doing her job. But I don't think her eyesight was very good, and her hands were kind of clumsy when I saw her doing things. And although I tried to trust her, that happened, and I just was like heartbroken for my baby. I was like postpartum blues, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I can't trust. I cannot, I need to do it myself. And yeah, I was worried as well because the belly button, that placenta was pulled off. She was crying so much, and it was green inside. And I think it did come off a little bit earlier than it should have, but thank God it healed well and he has a normal belly button. Okay, so that is my postpartum Korean experience on a very, very personal level. The best thing that I could have done was to decide to do it on my own. And with William, actually we made a great team. It was definitely not easy, but it was so rewarding, and just having that peace of mind knowing that it's me and William taking care of the baby that we love, that we really care about, that allowed me to just be at peace and like do this mothering thing. And we got along and did breastfeeding, and actually it was Leo. I think it's just his personality. He's someone who gravitates more towards the natural things. He wouldn't take the bottle after a while because I think he liked the warmth and the connection and the bond from actual being together with me during breastfeeding. So eventually he himself started to refuse the bottle, but it did take about a week to get there. So anyway, that was my maternity care center experience, and I'm going to keep this video just about the maternity care center, and I'll talk about Korean postpartum tips, care in a separate video because this video became way too long and specific, but I think that's just the way it's going to be. Okay, so that was it for my Korean postpartum maternity care center experience. I really hope that this didn't come across as too negative or like unpleasant. It's totally just my experience. Another thing that I want to share is, although I had this kind of really negative experience with the Joriwon, when I speak with some of my other Korean local friends, they say, really, was it like that for you? Where did you go? So obviously I think I had a one-off case kind of situation. But then on the other hand of things, I think when I first shared this very basic story on my Insta stories, I had a lot of expats who live in Korea who also shared that they just left as well, or it wasn't for them, or that they would never also go to a Joriwon because of the same thing where the babies are not treated like human beings, but they're just like standardized and it's not their cultural thing. So I think at the end of the day, it might be a cultural difference because we are kind of like raised in the Western mentality to give an individual worth and weight to every single person. But in Asia, it's a very collectivist society where everyone kind of is the same and they should be doing the same thing. Hence, like for example, in Australia, if you're in a clothing store, they would never sell an item to you by saying that everyone's buying this and it's sold out, because no one wants to be the same. Everyone wants to be individual and they want to stand out by being your own fantastic self. Whereas in Korea, everyone, surprisingly, like this was a culture shock to me when I first came, but now I'm like totally natural to it as well. But they'll sell something by saying this is super popular and it's sold out and everyone is buying this exact same thing. To Westerners, if you come, that might actually be like an insult and be like, I don't want to be the same as everyone else. Why are you saying that to me? But that actually highlights, I guess, the kind of difference in mentality, and I think that is kind of tied towards how things are in Joriwon as well. One good thing about Joriwons definitely is that they take care of the food for you. They have the sitz baths for you, which I think is good, but not absolutely necessary, because to a certain degree, even though it's like sterilized, I still felt kind of 찝찝해, like a little grossed out that everyone sits there with their bloody areas and everything. it still kind of was like, you get like a plastic cover to put on, but the bottom bit is the same area, and I don't think anyone would really clean that well except for the UV light. So I think it's good enough to just like sit at home in your own sitz bath, or just have your own bath, which is good too if you have your own time to do that. But yeah, another good thing is definitely the massages. But then again, you can definitely hire someone else who is dedicated to just you and you alone and come to your house at the time that you need. So actually that's what I did. We hired a postpartum specialist masseuse, and she was amazing. And they would do it with like this hot, they'll put this heat thing over you because you need to sweat it out. So it was like a sauna experience. The more that you sweat it out and keep your body warm with warm drinks and everything, the more you can flush out the toxins and get rid of the swelling, and that it won't be permanent. So I am definitely going to talk more about, not about the Korean maternity care center, but about Korean postpartum. You guys are asking me about confinement, foods that are typically eaten postpartum and like recommended for recovery, and how I bounced back. I'm sorry, in the beginning of this video I said that I'm going to talk about that, but no, I don't think it's gonna we're going to do that next time. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this long and rambly but heart-to-heart sharing of my experience. It's really belated, but yeah, I'm glad that I did do this with you guys. And if you were to ask me if I would go to a Joriwon again, I would not. I would definitely just hire someone else to either just make the food, someone who definitely knows that I just want the food and the cleaning, or I would have a family member, or just me and Oppa doing it ourselves. So yeah, that is it from me today. If you guys have any of your own experiences, please leave it in the comments below for everyone else to read and get to know as well. And please, once again, I just want to exaggerate that I didn't do this to badmouth the Korean culture or anything. I'm doing it purely on a kind of matter-of-fact way that I think in a reasonable way, this is it. And I think this is why. I'm not attaching any emotions or bitterness or grudges to it, but that's what it was for me. So hopefully that came across to you guys well. Thank you for spending time with me today, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know if you would like me to do the next video on Korean postpartum care tips and how I bounced back. I'm sorry again. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Muse fam and join us. And I'll see you guys all in my next video. Stay beautiful inside and out. I'll see you guys soon. Bye everyone. 다음에 또 봐요.